One of the interesting community types I've thought about starting, which might be more realistic and comfortable for people, is a volunteer training camp. I don't know if I want to call it that. Maybe an intentional village training camp. No, Ecovillage, intentional community training camp. I don't know. I can figure out the name. But the idea is that no one's expecting to go and invest their whole life there. Because it scares me too when people think they want to come to a place and live there forever. I've had that problem because I offered a free space for people and they thought they found their magic space to live for free. Doesn't work. This would be a place people pay to go to, and they learn a whole bunch of skills that are kind of tricky to learn. And they work on projects. Some of this stuff is really basic, like can you change a propane gas tank? Now, much of the world doesn't use that type of energy, but can you do it? It's one more thing for your list of many skills. And I can think of 100 useful skills that you could have, and then you would be able to market yourself to other communities and say, here's my long list of skills I'm either intermediate or an expert at. How am I on animal care? At what level? Most people can be taught to bring a bucket of food and dump it somewhere. Can you clip the wings of a chicken? I've done that. I have ended up not doing it with most of my chickens. I prefer higher walls that they have a harder time getting over and not having any trees near those walls. And I want trees for them to be up in because they love to be in trees. Can you use a machete safely without hurting yourself or anyone else? Can you sharpen a machete? Can you gas up a generator? I hate generators. Can you communicate with people in a positive way, even when that person is not being positive by your standards? It's really important that we not escalate conflict, because sometimes someone just says something because they're grumpy, and other people then go into the mode of, oh, I'm being attacked, and that person's doing an inappropriate grumpy thing, and therefore I must attack back to defend myself. And then the other person feels attacked, and pretty soon you have an escalating conflict for no goddamn reason at all. But you're all trying to protect yourselves. And I understand why we're trained to be like that. So we have to train for better communication. We have to train for not being a dumbass. That's, I guess, the general term. Having empathy. So I like that idea because the expectation going into it is first you're going to pay, right? You can raise the money somehow to pay for it or not. We have less fear of you because we're not planning on a longer term thing. You're in it shorter term. We make videos with you potentially of you describing your experience and your values and how it's been for you. And then other communities can look at that and say, I like that person. I would like to recruit them for my community. And in some cases, I might see how someone's done and say, I want them for one of my communities. When I say my communities, it sounds a little weird, doesn't it? But they won't be mine after I'm dead. So I wouldn't get too hung up on that. I don't need stuff from people. I'm not into oppressive relationships. I'm out of here. And so, I mean your communities if you get accepted to it. But people have to be very careful about that. Even with kids' communities, like I talk about setting up kids' spaces, well, people have very different ideas about how to raise children. Now, most of the people, I imagine, have very similar ideas that they would like to raise them with homeschooling, with having, lots of outdoor time, with making sure that we get them to the level or way above what the public schools offer, which is not that hard. Public school is really easy for a smart kid at all, and we might want to recruit people who have generally smart kids. I don't know if that's a factor that's the most important. I think training to be kind and good people matters more for any age. So, training them in other skills, like what can they as individuals produce? Can they learn to be a blacksmith? Can they learn to create art that is marketable easily? Can we make a website that markets everybody that we've trained? We market their art and they suddenly become a functional artist, and we support them with interviews and articles about them. connect them up with art collectors. We might develop our own pool of art collectors. So there's, dozens, hundreds of skills that people could have. They could learn how to sew. Sewing's a skill. I don't know. What skills do you got? What skills do you appreciate in others? What businesses can we put out of business because we don't need them? I mean, how hard is it to cut hair? Back in the city, I used to pay for expensive haircuts at salons. And now I haven't paid for a haircut in 15 years, and I paid almost nothing for that one. I mean, I can just shave my head, or I have electric trimmers, and what I'm probably going to do, because it's hot out now, is I'm just going to shave the side of my head. I'm going to shave the back of my head where there's a little too much extra hair, and then clean up my beard a little bit, but I kind of like the fun long beard. The point is, we shouldn't be spending any money on haircuts. So we get that out of the government system. Nobody needs to be licensed for it. I mean, what are we going to slash each other up with an electric razor? It's not going to happen. And if you want really fancy hair of some kind, maybe that's a luxury you should skip, personally. That's my thought. Can you cut your own hair? Good question. I should actually add that to a list of questions. But I also don't see a problem if we have a community where, somebody's particularly good at it. But even then, I don't want to spend a lot of time on fancy hair. Should we have a hair dyeing station and somebody offers hair dyeing? Maybe. I've had green hair. I've had a blue beard. It's fun. A lot of people have a really negative reaction if anyone colors their hair. Then they start to assume things about that person's politics and stuff. And it's like, why? It's a temporary body modification that doesn't mean anything about your political views or what's inside your brain. It's close to your brain, but it's not in it. So I don't have any problem with that. Are you a tattoo artist? Not top of my list of priorities. There's plenty of tattoo artists around. I just had one at my house visit the other day. But that's another option. I would recommend people be real slow about making decisions about marking up their body in permanent ways. It's my personal preference. I just saw an article about people getting rid of their tattoos that they got because they got them when they were young, and later they decided that is not a tattoo I want on my body. That seems really inconvenient. Let's just do a little thinking up front, shall we? We shall. Cooking food, I guess, is a skill, and I should make a whole video just about my thoughts on food ingredients and where they come from, and working with the gardens and how we buy things that we don't produce, which things are healthy for us, how we can preserve food, store food, have food stored for emergencies, make sure that there's no health problems in the kitchen, train people for food and health safety, things that we expect the government to provide, but, they're generally corrupt systems and don't always do a good job at their job. But often you can't pick another government to join. Well, in a sense, an intentional community is another government you can join. And so you don't find freedom in the intentional community, do whatever the fuck you want. You find a different set of rules and constraints that you think work for you. Maybe you want a community that has no dogs in it. If you're a really weird person who doesn't like dogs at all. But if your experience with dogs is that they bit you and that they're stupid and dirty, you're not stupid and dirty. You're a beautiful dog. Yeah, you're a good boy. This dog is so beautiful that it makes you think it's a girl. Are you a girl? Are you so pretty you're a girl? Yeah. Not really. It's a boy. Wait, go away. Go away. So the idea of a temporary community has a great attraction to me, because then it would be also a filter and a barrier for other communities that are scared shitless of having you join it, even temporarily. I don't host volunteers anymore because I'm scared of them. Tons of them are sociopaths looking for a place to take advantage of people. Well, this place would weed them out. And I would say a month would be the minimum time. I don't know if I agree with that, but a month really starts to tell you about what a person's like. What are they like when they're tired? What are they like when they're cranky? How are they with difficult people? If I was more nefarious, I could even set up people to go and test them and be grumpy at them or something, and or be rude, and then find out what is their response, because our response should be to de-escalate conflict. I've seen that in the corporate setting, where you've got some people who, you know, I mean, there's intense shit you're working on. There's a lot of money on the line, millions of dollars on the line, with sometimes a single decision. And so you have to figure out, how am I going to deal with a wide variety of people? In my case, they were all pretty smart functionally, but that doesn't mean that they're good. And I don't know what good is, but sometimes people just clash, right? Like, I had a guy I worked with. He was in charge of a department that mine worked with very closely. We absolutely must serve each other well. And he came from a background, I had been in the company a long time and was very into the culture of it. He came from a very different background. It was a military background with a whole different way of doing things. And we clashed. We had conflict about how you do shit and how this team works with that team. My boss, a really cool chick who had been in the company forever, like strong, hard-ass person, but really knowledgeable about how everything worked. I wish I had more time with her, actually. And she called us the Hatfields and McCoys, referring to like a feuding family group. And what I did was I tried to train my people to not respond to any aggression from that team at all. Just totally don't fight it, don't respond, don't try and be rational with it. Just let them say and be what they want to be. We do a good job. We try and do a better job. We take any criticisms we get, and we serve. And things calm down, both for our teams and for us as individuals. And we got used to each other, and he got used to the corporate culture where I'm at. He was trying to. We were both trying. He's a nice guy, but we just came from such different backgrounds. We had kind of this inherent cultural conflict. And luckily, within a fairly short time, it took months, but we were able to calm that all down. Both teams started to serve each other well, and our organization started to make a lot of money. Like, I know when we got to $60 million, we were thrilled. And that's the kind of success we want to see in community. And that happens because we're all adjusting ourselves and learning. And so this temporary training community could be a system in which we're training people, but we're also evaluating, what do we have to work with here? Is this person someone we can invest in? Or do they have fatal problems we can't deal with? We don't have to make that decision ourselves, but the plan was already for them to move on. But then where they move on to will depend on how well it went. I like the idea a lot. Maybe that is a program to start right after the building program. And there would be work involved, because setting this place up is going to take a lot of work and a lot of responsibility and a lot of flexibility. And we're going to deal with some hard issues, even if we're dealing with really well-selected, awesome people. I mean, I'll probably have problems with somebody or other. I'm an extreme person. I'm nicer in person than I am on video. I'm slower. And, there will be conflict. And how we deal with it is our choice. So we can center ourselves. We can remember our core goals, that we're trying to serve a higher goal of having fluid and pleasant interactions with people. Are you up for that? That might be a cool program to start. Would you want to sign up for that? Would you happily pay for it, rather than say, how little can I pay? Instead of, wow, how can I get enough resources together to be a functional part of this system and build it up? Because that's a very different attitude. Guess which one I prefer? I'm very experienced. And I'm much harder to fuck over than I was before. And for the people involved in it, it could set them up for life of being in communities that were really private, that don't even have a public face. They don't even have to have a web page. They're getting people joining them from the outside that went through this training program, that are proven to be mostly damn good, educated in some things, some skills, some cultural understandings, and that might vary because there could be a whole bunch of different, different types of communities that could then recruit through this program. I'm liking that idea.